Mr. Kip Sorensen, what's up, man? It's good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, man. I had, dude. So have you trained and then no injury during training? You go home, sleep, you wake up, and all of a sudden you're like paralyzed
every day, every day after training. What happened though?
No, my back. Oh man, I'm walking, really? I'm shuffling my feet. I'm bending halfway over. No pain, no nothing during training. Like no event occurred, but pinched a nerve.
You know what that's
something.
Called, right?
Oh,
you know what that's called,
old
right?
Age.
No. I mean, yes.
Speed 40.
It's actually called LBS. There's a clinically diagnosed condition for that. Have you heard
what
of this?
Does LBS stand for?
Little bitch syndrome.
I knew it was coming.
I'm telling you, man.
Hey, I'm not complaining.
I always have a low level of pain in my right joint, just this whole joint. And I've just come to the realization that like, this is always going to hurt. You know, I've been a little lackadaisical on my training over the past couple of weeks and my elbows been feeling pretty good. And then I went last week. I'm like, shit, there it goes.
Back to normal. Yeah.
Yep. I don't know if I just give up my right arm or what, but you doing all right, man? You gonna survive?
I'm going to survive.
In light of your LBS that you have going on?
Yeah, my LBS is it just kind of magically just went away right now once you inform me.
That's right, man.
I don't have it anymore. It's done.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. All right, you're drinking the good stuff today, man.
Yeah.
Typically you're drinking a Bang, which is like the enemy, but you got your Go going on. What flavor do you have there? Let's see it. Hold on. Don't tell me.
Oh.
Okay. I was just gonna say, show it. Let me see if I can guess it. Sour apple sniper.
Yeah.
Have you tried the orange stuff yet?
I have not. I haven't.
I'll get you some.
I like JP. I really drink this just so I can feel like me and JP are close, like we're pals.
Yeah, well,
he doesn't know me, but I know him, and
Oh, he knows you, Kip. He knows you. Don't sell yourself short, man. I think he'll probably be at Origin's immersion camp, which, by the way, we're going to come out with some details for you guys here in the next, I would say, week, because we want a big Order of Man representation at Origin. I would just like Order of Man to just take over Origin's immersion camp. Yeah. Wouldn't that be rad?
Yeah, the big group photo that they take. What we could do is just have a big section, just Order of Man guys.
It'd be awesome.
Is this an Order of Man event or is this an immersion jiu-jitsu camp? I can't tell.
And excited at the same time. You know what would actually be really cool is have Pete make us some like Order of Man orange geese or black geese with orange trim. Black with orange trim.
Black with orange trim. Yeah, that would be tight.
Yeah. Do you guys have restrictions on colors you can wear at your gym?
No.
Okay. I know some gyms.
Yes. Those are fancy gyms do that, but no.
Fancy gyms. All right.
Fancy gyms. Yeah. Like what's the Art of Jiu-Jitsu? Those guys are AOJ. They're pretty.
Art of Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know them. So
yeah. It's like look them up. They're like the 5-star of jiu-jitsu gyms. You show up and I'm like, oh, should I be wearing all white in here? Like put on some slippers.
Yeah.
It's really? So fancy. Yeah. Dang. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's
I hope,
a whole other level.
I hope I don't be insulting here or I'm not going to be insulting here or anything, but we go to like the redneck of jiu-jitsu gyms. Like we just show up and it's all these Mainers and I love it, man. It's like, it's my jam, dude. These are my people right here. So it's like, we're not fancy or anything. We just show up and kick each other's asses for an hour and a half. And it's all good.
Yeah. Clint caught me. Maybe I shouldn't publicly say that.
Oh no, he publicly shared it already. He told me.
Oh, did he share it?
Oh yeah, he's been telling everybody. I'm just putting that out there. I mean, I don't want to create any rift between you two, but he's been putting it out there that he caught you the other day.
Yeah. Yeah. He did the pause like, I think that's the first time I've ever caught you. I'm like, you know what?
Shut your mouth. What did he catch you in?
I don't remember actually.
You do too. Come on, man.
I don't.
Okay, I'll ask him.
Yeah, he'll remember. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it's in his journal.
Oh, you should have seen it. It's in a journal. He journals like a little
journal
school girl at the end of the night.
Caught Kip.
I caught Kip today. It was such an amazing experience. Yeah. No, he's been telling everybody. Copy that. Yeah.
Copy
So just
that.
just be aware. Just be aware of that.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, you know, what's interesting is he a blue belt or a white belt? I don't know.
No, he's a white belt.
White
Yeah,
belt.
he's been
Okay.
trained for about a year.
But
Yeah.
dude, Clint's different though, because I remember I went and trained with him maybe 6 to 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And I think either I was on the tail end of my white belt or maybe just got my blue belt.
And I think he
rolled
just
with
got
him,
started. Yeah.
and I was like, holy shit, this guy is legit. Like, he's a different kind of white belt for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gotten really good, really quick.
Yeah.
It was funny. Those guys, kind of the Jack Donovan, what I'm calling the Jack Donovan crew, you know, because I told you they started doing a little bit of training on Sundays.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's go shooting. And one of the guys is like, hey, you going shooting with us? And I'm like, oh, next time or whatever. And he goes, hopefully you're not as good at shooting as you are at jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, I don't know why that's a concern unless we're shooting at each other.
You might be with that crew.
But I don't know what you guys are down. Like, you got a rough crowd, you know. I don't know what's planned. Jack Donovan's like, all right, standoff. You walk the, you know, who knows what's going on.
I'll give you a 30-second head start. Like on
it's a whole other breed going on.
Oh, what's the movie? It's on Mel Gibson's in it. It's Maverick. Did you ever see that show?
Yeah.
Where the Indian guy was like, "Hey, we've got this Russian who wants to hunt a human, so you're gonna pretend like you're an Indian," and he gives him like a 20-second head start. Yeah, that's right, dude. That's you. That's why they want you to come.
That's
so if
why
they start putting you in Indian, you know, a headdress or gear, like, I'd be a little worried if I were you.
Totally. Yeah. I'm the outside. They're like, yeah, you want to come shooting? Sure.
It's really fun to play cowboys and Indians, and you're the Indian. If I'm just telling you, if that's what the case is, like, just don't play that game. Can we talk about that anymore? Is that politically correct, or I don't know if we can address that or not?
Yeah, maybe let's think about
people, cowboys,
and brainstorm anyone that we might potentially offend before we have these. So then that way we can make sure that we talk about nothing.
We don't need. We just sit in silence for an hour. We don't need to brainstorm that, regardless of what you say.
Yeah,
people are gonna be offended, which is crazy.
There's someone on the list.
I mean, we talked about Indians, we talked about cowboys, we talked about rednecks already. Let's just keep going. Yeah. All right, man. Should we get into some questions today?
Yeah, for sure. And great eps on Friday field notes, and the Jack Donovan ep was great as well.
Yeah. It's always, he's an interesting dude. I always get some interesting feedback on that, because he's he's so solid. You know, have you met Jack in person?
Yeah. Well, remember I was training with
that's right. His weird book release thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what makes him interesting. Mm-hmm. He does some weird shit that you're like, whoa, I don't know about this. And I like people like that. Somebody asked me about the podcast the other day, and they're like, hey, who do you want? I'm like, I just want to talk to weird people anymore. Like, I'm so sick of talking to people who are just like normal and bland and politically correct. I just want to talk to weirdos and assholes. Like, that's who I want to talk to, because at least they make it interesting. And Jack's like that. He's very fascinating, very interesting. He's pretty solid. A lot of what he talks about with regards to masculinity is things that I actually believe in, has actually shaped a lot of what I believe about masculinity. But he's got some edges, that make him different, make him weird and strange. And I like that. I think that's cool. Yeah.
Like he admitted on the episode with you, it's like, if it's off boundaries and I probably shouldn't, and it's been categorized as like bad, I kind of like go that direction naturally.
And those are the interesting people. Those are the people. In fact, those are the people that we need, because everybody is just so robotic and monotonous and do what you're told. Man, been there, done that. And I'll tell you, like, even the amount of people that reach out to me, they're like, hey, I want to come talk to you about leadership. I'm like, bleh. I don't want to talk about leadership on my podcast. I mean, leadership is important, but what else? What else you got?
Yeah.
Let's get something different going on here. So hopefully we can bring some answers that are a little different, at least refreshing in a world that doesn't want to rock the boat. Hopefully we can rock it a little bit.
Yeah. All right. We got our marching orders. Rock the boat is what I heard.
That's right.
So our questions today, we're actually fielding from Facebook. to join us there, facebook.com/group/order-man. All right. Riley DeWert, Ryan Mickler. I know that you spent time in the military. What is your biggest takeaway from your time in service? Any leaders or peers that had a lasting impact on you?
I think about a lot of guys in the military, and I don't know that there's one individual who I thought, this is the guy. Like this is the guy I want to model or I want to be like. I wasn't serving under Jocko. If that were the case, obviously he'd be the guy.
Yeah.
I was serving under a bunch of guys pretty much like me. Some had obviously more experience than I did and taught me some good things, but there wasn't like one person that I thought, this is the guy. But what did I learn? Here's what I learned. I learned to play for keeps. I spent some time in Iraq. I was in Ramadi in 2005 and 2006. Speaking of Jocko, that's 2006 was just about the time, early 2006, I believe it was April or May, somewhere in there, is when he got to Ramadi, he and his task unit bruiser. So we had a little bit of overlap. I didn't know who he was at the time. We knew who Chris Kyle was, but I didn't know who Jocko was at the time. And what I learned is to play for keeps. Life is short. I remember when I got to Iraq, the unit that we were replacing all piled us into the Humvees and they said, hey, let me just give you a tour of the base. And so we toured the base and there was mortar holes and rocket blasts and everything along the base. I'm like, holy shit, what did we just get ourselves into? The guys that we replaced, they literally would not walk to the chow hall, which was probably a tenth, maybe a quarter of a mile, maybe away. And they wouldn't walk from their position to the chow hall. What they had to do is they did it on a rotation. So if it was your turn to go, you had to go, and you had to get the food for like 3 to 5 guys.
So that way only you were at risk, not all
just you. You were going to die. If it was your day, like sucks to be you, you're dead.
Go get me lunch.
Go get me lunch because my lunch is more important than your life. And when I walked into the base, the office building, I say office building, that's a loose translation. But when I walked into the office building, I saw pictures of 14 soldiers on the wall. And I asked one of the captains there, I said, hey, who are these guys right here? And he said, so those are the 14 guys that we've lost in a year. And that's the job we were going to do. And that's when it became real for me. Like, oh my goodness, like this is real at this point. Yeah. 14 soldiers lost. These guys are afraid to walk a tenth of a mile to the chow hall. There's rocket holes, mortar holes everywhere on the base. We lived on the base. Yeah. On the base itself. It was the worst strategic place to ever have a base. I'm not sure why we did, other than it was an Iraqi detention facility at one point, and it was convenient because there was enough buildings. And I don't even want to know what took place in the buildings that we lived in. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
And we got hit with rockets and mortars every single day. There wasn't a day that went by that we didn't get hit with rockets or mortars or have to rally the QRF, quick reactionary force, or our guys were outside the wire, which meant outside of the base, dealing with enemy encounters, IEDs, improvised explosive devices, et cetera, et cetera. Not a day that went by. And what my job was to coordinate the base defense. So I was a shift supervisor for base defense. So as we had threats at the gates, or our observation posts acknowledged a threat or saw a threat, or we had a very limited counterfire artillery mission, it was my job to determine how we were going to react to that threat. And what I learned is that the decisions I was going to be making were for real. If I had a bad day, it wasn't like somebody was upset. It wasn't like, you were down for a couple of days, or you declared bankruptcy, or you had gotten a lawsuit, or you were dealing with a minor medical condition. Like if I had a bad day, somebody died. And I learned to play for keeps. And I was thinking about this just the other day, because I was walking out in the field with my family. My oldest son just turned 13. That means I got 5 years with him. You have kids that are out of or close to out of the house.
Yeah.
5 years. I could die today. I could run down to the gas station or run an errand and somebody can T-bone. I was listening to Matt Walsh the other day. He said, what's going to kill you is already out there. It's either inside of your body already. It's probably already inside your body.
It's already growing. Yeah.
Right. Or there's your neighbor who's working away on his computer, doing his job just like you are. And he's going to run a red light tomorrow and he's going to T-bone you and kill you. Like whatever's going to kill you is already present. It's already there. We don't have a lot of time, gents. Like whether it's 5 years or 50 years, you don't have a lot of time. And some of you are so worried about, what would this person think about me? And I don't know if it's going to work out. You don't have a whole lot of time. Do you realize that? You have no time on this planet. And you're worried about what somebody else is thinking about you, so you're not going to do it? That was a beautiful blessing. It was painful, but it was a beautiful blessing to me because I realized, when I go to the chow hall to get my lunch today, I could be dead. I remember, I think it was the last 2 or 3 days, we were getting ready to ship out to go home. And I was walking to the chow hall and our sirens came on, and those sirens let you know that there's an incoming round. We have enough time to pick them up and there's an incoming round. And I looked around and I'm like, holy shit, like there's nothing for me to hide behind. And so I saw a palm tree and I ran over to the palm tree and I just got as low as I could behind the palm tree. And that's all I could do. It's like, it's my time. If this mortar or rocket lands on this palm tree, I'm dead. So I get behind the palm tree and probably 70, 80 yards, somewhere in there or so, an engineering unit that had come in to replace us or work with us had built these makeshift buildings. There was probably, I would say, 4 to 5 guys in each building that they slept there. And it was basically a 4x4 or a 4x5 grid. So there's 20 or so plywood buildings. And that mortar hit those buildings, which was, like I said, 70, 80 yards away. I get up. I'm with my buddy. I'm actually with two buddies I went to high school with, Tony and Jen. And we run over there. And the first person we come to is this young woman, and she's holding her wrist. She's like holding her wrist. And we look at her hand, and her, like, half of her hand is blown off, like just completely gone. So she's just like, and I'll never forget the vibrant color of red that was dripping from her hand. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is insane. And my buddy Jed, who was trained in medical stuff, he did some additional medical training. He said, all right, you're in shock. Like, let me get you, put some pressure on. He put her in this concrete bunker. It was kind of a tunnel. You know, if you think about those big 4-foot concrete pipes, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, he threw her in one of those. And he's like, just stay here, pressure, stay here. I got to work with some other people. So he did that. I was very impressed with his speed of reacting to the situation. We ran over to the buildings, and by this time, they were demolished, Kip. They were gone, burned to the ground. And we're running around trying to see who needs help and everything else. And we come around this one building, and the medics had come over from Charlie Med, and they threw a couple of guys into the back of a gator. You know how, like, if a football player gets injured, they throw them on a gator and they haul them off the field. It was like that. And they were throwing a couple of dead bodies onto this gator and taking them wherever they take them. Man, I'm telling you, life is short. Those were kids. I remember one guy, he looked tall. He was dead. All right. You know, when you see a dead body, he was dead. And he looked like a kid. He was tall. I remember he was tall. He was probably Hispanic of some sorts. And he was young, man, like young. And I just remember thinking, God, what a waste of life. What a waste of life. And I remember that every single day. I think about that. Life is short. And we're worried about dumb shit. Like, what would people think of me? I don't give a damn what people think of me, because life is short. Live your life. Anyways, I'm dragging on at this point, but a lot of you guys listening have been in these situations to some degree or another. Take it with you. Like, use it as fuel. It's painful to remember those things, to see a young man who just got to Iraq, who probably wanted to serve his country, who probably wanted to make his family proud, who believed in the American dream, and he died for it. And many of you listening know what that's like to some degree. Use it. It's painful, but that pain can actually serve you to go on and do something great. That kid doesn't get to live his life. It was cut short. He doesn't get to do all the things that he wanted to do, but you do. For whatever reason, luck, fortune, fate, the gods are smiling upon you. I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, you're still here. So make the most of it. That's what I would say. Make the most of it. Play for keeps. Get after your life. It's short.
Yeah. And I think there's two sides of that, right? Like you think about that kid, did mom and dad send that letter that they thought they should have sent and didn't? Right? Did they say goodbye in a way that they were complete in their relationship with him?
Yeah.
Our lives may be cut short, but those that we care about, those within our care, their lives might be cut short, right? We may send our kids off to school today, and one of my daughters could die today.
Right.
How did I say goodbye to him this morning?
Mm-hmm.
I like you said, I mean, being present to that, I think is powerful. And I think that's one of the Stoic kind of strategies around, memento mori, right?
Yes.
Negative visualization is like, hey, get present to this. So then that way we can show up in a way that's empowering to those that we love and make sure we take advantage of the time that we have with them.
Yeah. And you know what I think most people do is we do a wonderful job sedating ourselves. I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to feel sorrow. I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel loss. And so we sedate ourselves with weird kind of mindsets that society has adopted for us, or drugs, alcohol, other things that completely shut our brains off. Entertainment, great example.
Yeah.
Feel it. Live life, embrace it. If you're in pain, whether it's because you have a loss of a loved one or a family member, or because your wife left you, or you just lost your job, or you're dealing with a medical condition, feel it. Go back and listen to Tim Kennedy's podcast I did with him. And he said, and Tim Kennedy's a different beast, but there's a lot of lessons that's to put it mildly. There's a lot of lessons that can be learned. He was talking about getting done with his fight I think he was talking about Bisping, actually, his fight with Bisping. Yeah. And, he said, I hit that guy like 300 times or something. It's like insane. And his wife was like, can I get you an Advil or a Tylenol or a fifth of vodka or what? Like, can I get you something? Yeah. And he's like, no, I just want to feel all of it. I want to feel the pain. I want to feel the frustration. I want to feel the failure. And he said, I remember him saying, if I could bottle that, I would drink that every day, because that pain is what drives me to do bigger and better things. A very interesting perspective. And most of us will run away from it. I don't want to feel bad at all in any little context. And so I'm going to do whatever I can not to feel it. Nah, feel it, embrace it, live in it, and it'll make you a better human being.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, we live in even a society that will downplay it. Oh, that's morbid. That's morbid. You shouldn't think about that. Really? About that? You shouldn't think about the single thing that we all have in common, that we will die.
Right.
But yet we don't talk about it. Why? It's very part of the human condition, but we don't talk about it because it's morbid. I don't know. I don't think so. Well, actually,
our culture, when I say I'm talking about Western culture, is very interesting around death. We mourn, and I remember when my grandmother died, I didn't know quite how to handle it. I was upset. And so we went to the funeral, and afterwards everybody came, I believe it was my aunt's house, and everybody came to my aunt's house, and I was young at the time. And everybody was laughing and smiling and playing. And I was like, that's weird. Grandma just died. I don't get this. I don't understand why is this funny? Why are we laughing? Aren't we supposed to be sorrowful? And I came to the realization that it's because they were honoring her. They were celebrating her. They're telling funny stories about grandma and laughing about how she made us feel and all the good that she did. And, some of the things maybe she didn't do so well, but they were honoring her. And that was a really cathartic moment for me where I realized, oh, okay, so yeah, it's sorrowful because we have a loss, but also what about all this amazing good over a period of, 75, 80 years that this woman did? And look, we're all here because of her. That's why we're all here. If without her, we wouldn't be here right now. So the Western world has this very morbid, well, it is morbid, but this very dark. I mean, we wear dark colors, but it's this very dark view of death. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't mourn death, but should we be more focused on celebrating life? And if we did, then how would we live our own lives as opposed to just focusing on our morbidity, So whatever. I don't know. It's weird.
Connor Gregory.
On that lovely note of talking about death for the past 30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like looking over the questions. I'm like, I don't even know if any of these are a segue out of that. Like,
we'll see what we can do.
But
we'll see what we can do.
So Connor McGregory, maybe this is, it's not Connor McGregor, guys. I don't know.
Maybe it is. Yeah. It probably is. I mean, he follows.
It probably is. Probability is pretty high. Connor Gregory, if it's not too private, what are your kids homeschooled? Why are your kids homeschooled? And have they ever been in public schools? What were some of the determining factors? My lady and I do not have children yet, but we are often discussing homeschool. So I'm curious.
Yeah, it's not too private at all. I've talked openly about it. My kids for up until 2 years ago were in public schooling. And I actually felt really good about it because the schools that they went to, we were living in a small town in southern Utah. The elementary school that my two oldest were going to, the principal of that school and I served together in our church. So I had a good relationship with him. We were well connected. We were friends. We had a lot of personal interaction. I knew a lot of the school teachers personally. I actually felt really good about the public school system. And I do, as long as you know who they are, I still feel that way about teachers individually for the most part. I don't like the system, but I do have a lot of respect for the individual teachers. And that's one thing I need to be very clear on, because anytime I criticize the public school system, people interpret that as criticizing teachers. I'm not criticizing individual some, yes. But the ones that I know, no, I'm not criticizing those teachers because I think they're doing what they can do. They're doing the best they can in a system that would be almost impossible to do right by our children. So I use a program called The Good and the Beautiful, is the homeschooling system that we use. I don't like the name, but I do like the curriculum. Because life is not about being good and beautiful. That's not what life is about for me. Yeah. Life to me is more about being capable and being valuable. If it were called the capable and the valuable, I'd be all about it. But it's called the good and the beautiful. It is what it is. I didn't come up with that name. But the curriculum is really good. It's a Christian-centered curriculum. When they give examples in their story problems and things like that, or their literature is about stories from the Bible. So it's really good because it's a values-based system. We made this decision 2 years ago when we moved here to Maine that we were going to homeschool our children because it represented a great opportunity to try something new. We weren't familiar with the area. We don't know people here. I'm not just going to thrust my kids into an environment that I'm not familiar with. Why would I do that? Okay, here, let me ship you off to school. I don't know those people. I don't know what their thoughts are. I don't know what they're thinking. Why would I do that? And yet many of us do, like, oh, don't question, but school system, public education, I guess is just what. No, I need to find out first because those are my children. And I have a responsibility to my children, more so than probably any other person on this planet, because I voluntarily brought them into this world. It's no surprise how we bring children into this world. People seem to be surprised about how that works, which is a weird thing.
Yeah. Save that for another question. Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's an issue. Abortion and premarital sex. And that's actually an issue that we probably should address very soon. Anyways. So we decided to homeschool our children. We asked around, good and the beautiful. My wife took that upon herself. And I'll tell you when I knew it was right. It's weird.
This is part of the Maine move, right? So were you guys homeschooling before Maine, or is like, hey, we're going to move to Maine and this is what we're going to switch things up on the schooling side at the same time?
Well, we heard a lot of good things about the school system that we're just outside of. We're just outside of the city limits for this particular school system. And we wrote into the school board and we said, hey, here's the exception. Here's why, They approved one of our children to come to that school, but they didn't approve another. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. If our kids are going to come, they're going to go, but are both going to go to the same school. We're not playing this different school type thing. So because one child was not approved for the school system, it had to do with school teachers and numbers and all that kind of stuff. We said, all right, you know what? Let's just try homeschool. Let's try it. It wasn't something that we were very convicted about, but we thought, okay, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
So we tried it and we really enjoyed it. And here's the moment I knew it was right. It was probably a week or two into our schooling. And I walked into our classroom, which is one of the rooms in our house. It's just off the side of our house, but it is in our home. And there was two clear big bowls. And one of them, well, they both had what I would just say were frogs. There was frogs in each of the bowls. And I'm like, whoa, those are cool. Or where'd you get those? And like, oh, we went on a walk today and we found them. And I said, oh, those are awesome frogs. And one of my children, I can't remember who it was, said, actually, Dad, only one is a frog. The other is a toad. And I was like, okay, well, got it. They're both frogs. They're like, no, there's a difference. And here's the difference. And they explained it to me. And then those were those mascots for, the week or whatever. And then they let them go 2 or 3 days later. That was the moment for me. It was a very weird thing to think that was the moment, but I'm like, oh, got it.
They're connecting things.
This is the value of homeschool. And then a couple of months later, my wife had set up a trip down to Boston, which is about 3.5 hour drive from where we are, with a homeschooling co-op. And we went down there and we went to the museum, and there was probably, 30 kids, 30, 40 adults. And we got on a train. We rode the train down to Boston, spent a day there. It was awesome. And I started seeing more of these kind of activities where we go to the museum as a family. They hang out with the right people. They're connecting, like you said, between learning and real world experience. And then I started having my oldest son manage the store, and that was part of his curriculum. And then the other kids wanted to get involved. And my wife and kids and my wife's mother her aunt went down to Boston just a couple of weeks ago, and they did the Freedom Trail. But it was the kids' responsibility to put together the field trip on what things they should visit on the Freedom Trail. And my 2 oldest boys were able to explain different parts of this trail and different parts of history. It's amazing. If you can make it work, you need to make it work. You just have to make it work. I'm not going to outsource my children's education out to people who will do an inferior job. And look, I have school teachers who are friends. Bless their hearts. They do as best they can, but they're undermanned. They have so many kids. They have to do the red tape. They're doing the best they can. They just can't do it as well as I can. That's not a personal indictment against them. They just can't because of the system in which they work. And I will have people who will say things like, well, they're trained, blah, 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 blah. Trained in what? How to manage 30 kids? Like they don't have any more classes than I had out of high school. They're trained in how to manage 30 kids or 40 kids or whatever it is, and then how to work through the red tape that they have to work through. That doesn't make them more qualified to teach children. It means they know how to work in the system they're presented with. They're not more trained to teach children.
Yeah. And attempt to teach 30 children the same exact way, regardless of the difference of the children.
So my daughter is dyslexic and she's smart. She's really intelligent. And this isn't me as a dad saying she's smart. This is like objectively, she's a smart girl.
Yeah.
In the school system with 25, 30, 35 other kids, she would be able to fake her way through it. Because I'll read with her. I'll pick up a book. Here's the book I have on my desk. This is probably not the book I'd be reading with her. 100 Deadly Skills by Clint Emerson.
Combat Edition. 100 Deadly Skills. All right, honey.
But this is the book that's on my desk right now. And I'll read with her. And, you know, at 7 years old, almost 7, the book she's reading have pictures. And she will memorize the book, the entire book. She'll memorize it. And so I'll sit down and I'll read
without
with her. And
reading
like,
it, really.
You know, read this sentence. And here's the sentence that I'm reading right now. Command and control. Once the attackers are incapacitated, fall back to a safe position and be the first to report the incident to authorities. So she'll read this sentence and I'm like, oh, cool. She got it. And then I'll look at her eyes. She's not actually reading. She's looking at the picture. And she remembered what the sentence is based on the picture. So in the public school system, she could fake her way through it. Because there's 30 other kids that the teacher needs to deal with. She's like, oh yeah, she memorized, she remembers, she knows how to read. Good, got it. No, she needs the personal attention. And so we bought a little extra curriculum that's outside of the good and the beautiful that works specifically with dyslexic children. My wife bought a couple of books off of Amazon that teach about dyslexia. And we have the power. We have the control. We have the ability to teach our children, which is exactly where it should be. So I can't really remember exactly what the question was, but that's the curriculum we use. That's the reason we do it. And if you have the means to do it, do it. If you don't have the means to do it, please work towards having the means to do it. Get your wife at home. This is not popular. And I know as I say this, people are going to be, well, not everybody's situation is the same. I'm telling you, man, the more that I see we as a society going down this degenerate hole, men, make yourself valuable to the point where your time is worth more, you're making more money, that you can get your wife at home so she can lead the house effectively. She can turn the house into home. She can teach the children. She can work on her projects and be valuable the way that she wants to be valuable and finds meaning and significance. And if that's in the workforce, okay, I get it. And that's cool. But I think that there's so many women out there who would love to be at home, but can't because of financial reasons. And I'm telling you, man, if you can get yourself into a position where your wife can stay at home and be the homemaker, there's value in that. There's a sense of pride and satisfaction in her. There's a sense of pride and satisfaction in you because you're able to make that possible. I feel good that my wife doesn't have to go to work every day. I feel good about that because we made that possible.
Yeah.
Now, if she said to me, and here's one of the things she said to me, I want to be a massage therapist. My wife, she wants to do massage therapy. I love it. I said, when do you want to do it? She says, when the kids are out of the house. Perfect answer. I love that answer because that means your priority's straight. You know, you want to raise the kids, or at least when, you know, they're older and schooling isn't so right.
Yeah.
And so maybe you have time to go to some night classes or whatever it is. I think that's great. I think you should do that. But I'm very proud of the ability that we have to make it an option that she doesn't have to go out into the workforce, that she gets to stay here. And every time I talk about it, people bitch, oh, well, Ryan, oh, it's hard and society this and society that. Yeah, it is hard, but it's not impossible. Millions of people do it.
Yeah.
So you could complain about it not being fair, it being hard or this or that. Or if it's a goal of yours, and I think it's a worthy goal, stop bitching and moaning about how hard it is and figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, sell some things, live within your means, get a raise, start a new business. Hell, even maybe she wants to start a side business at home where she can be at home, but she's, you know, maybe doing a couple photography sessions each week. And you know, that $400, $500, $600, $800 a month is helping, you know, pay the bills, but she can be at home. There's plenty of ways to do it. But some of you are so wrapped up in why you can't do it and why society is wrong and out to get you and the inflation, everything else, that you just won't go do it. But you want to do it. So you can't have both. You can't perpetually complain about it and how hard it is and then also be actively working towards the solution. Pick one. Are you going to work towards the solution, or are you just going to bitch and moan and tell everybody how the cards are stacked against you? Those are the only two options.
Sorensen, how do I decide on a side income or what type of business to get into? I really like my job as a coal mine electrician. However, it's in the government crosshairs and I need to be prepared. Also, I want the ability to be rewarded for my hard work, ambition, and genuine, I don't even know that word. Creativity. The only comes.
You don't know the word creativity?
Thing. No, I made up
I'm just giving
a different word. So how does side hustle?
All right. Here's what I would say. Well, first and foremost, I commend you. I mean, that's awesome. Everybody should be doing this, by the way. Any man listening to this, not starting a side business, I'm not saying that, but every man listening should be contemplating what contingency plans he has in place. Yeah. Some of you guys are so comfortable. Oh, I have this job and I've been working here for 20 years. And you think you're set. You're not set at all. I have a union job. I'm set. No, you're not. There's no guarantee. What's your backup? What's your contingency? Are you putting money aside? If you got laid off today, how long could you live for? You better have those plans in place. So
I want to clarify, and this is a guy that loves his job, right? He's saying, hey, this is a great job. I love it. And that's great. Still having this thought process. Yeah. Yeah.
So a couple of things I would say when it comes to a side business. Number one, what are you interested in? Everybody's out chasing the money. Where can I make money? How can I make money? Dude, people make money doing the dumbest shit out there. Like literally. So I had a guy, he was a friend of ours and a neighbor of ours when we were in Utah, and he would buy toys out of China and he would bring them back and he would mark them up and sell them. Yeah. And he was making good money doing it. And I don't blame him at all. I don't fault him at all. I didn't know how to get to China to get toys. So he did it and brought toys. And I bought a couple of drones and RC cars and things like that from him for our kids. And it was awesome. We had a good time with him. There was value to us. There was value to him. He's like a middleman. He wasn't creating anything. He didn't build the toys. Like all he did was, okay, who's the cheapest? Okay, good. Got it there. Okay, bring it here. Mark it up a little bit. There you go. Like you can make money doing anything. So what I would say is, what's interesting to you? Here's some questions to ask yourself. What are you doing when time goes the fastest? Can that be a job? For me, when I'm building the canoe, time's going really fast. I guarantee you that I could say, hey guys, I'm going to build another canoe. Who would be interested in buying one? I guarantee you that somebody would buy that canoe from me. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. By the way, I'm not doing that.
I was going to say, after we see that, it doesn't sink.
No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I could do it right now without being tested. Yeah. No, I'm not probably untested. Right. I am right. I'm 100% right.
It's true. It's true. It's a beautiful looking canoe.
I could sell a canoe. I could make one for $2-3 grand, something like that. And I could sell it for $6-7 grand. I know I could. I'm not interested in doing that, but I know I could. So what are you doing when time goes the fastest? That's number one. What types of things are people turning to you for advice on? Kip, if they're coming to you and saying, hey, Kip, I know you're into jiu-jitsu and I've really been interested in starting jiu-jitsu. I just don't know where to get started. Light bulb should strike for you. Yeah. People are asking me about jiu-jitsu. People are asking me about building a canoe. People are asking me about playing the guitar. People are asking me about painting or firearms training or how to get into hunting. What are people asking you about? That's a good indicator that you might be onto something. Not the only, but a pretty good indicator that people would be willing to invest in that. And number 3, what would you do if money were not an issue? You had no mortgage, you had no bills, you had enough money, you had enough income, everything was coming in. You didn't have to worry. You go on the vacations and the trips and do the things that you want, buy the vehicles and toys and everything else that you want. What would you do with your time? Because you would do something. Yeah. Right? You're not just going to sit there. You'd probably sit there for a week and then you're like, okay, well, this is stupid. If you're worth your weight in being a man, you would do something. What is it? Is it golf? Is it fly fishing? Is it playing a musical instrument? Is it exploring the world and going on cool hikes? Is it having conversations like that? What is it? What would you do? Yeah. And if you know what it is, then maybe that's what you ought to consider doing.
Just to clarify, sleeping and watching Netflix is not one of those options.
Actually, it is. Actually, it is. So let me tell you what I mean by that.
Okay.
People get paid millions of dollars to critique TV shows and movies.
Fair enough.
There's a guy, what's his name? James Walker or Nestor or something. I don't know what his name is. He's a sleep guy. Like, he's a sleep expert. And he wrote a book. He's a New York Times bestselling author. A bunch of people have had on his podcast. In fact, I think I have his book somewhere. I haven't read it yet. And he talks about sleep because he studied sleep. There's nothing that you could say to me, Kip, where you'd be like, fair. Well, like, what about this? Everything. Yeah. Everything. So let's not chase the dollar and let's figure out what you're excited about. You already have a great job. You've got the income. You're enjoying what you do. What are some things that you can do on the side? Photography. Maybe there's a book that you can write. You're an electrician, I believe he said he was. So maybe, look, here's a silly idea. Maybe you can create little in-home kits where homeschooled kids can buy from you, and it teaches them about electricity and how to wire an electrical light or how to build a radio or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. You know better than I do. That's not a thing that I'm interested in, but you are. So like, you already have some expertise. Build something, create something, offer some value. It's there. It is there. You just have to ask those prompts and then be willing to get your ass in the game.
Yeah. What I like what you said, Ryan, is a little bit of like passion and curiosity, things that interest you. And a really great book on defining this stuff. We covered it in the Iron Council last month, was The Art of the Impossible by Stephen Kotler. And he talks about, he calls it kind of like a motivation stack, and if you stack these things together, the probability of you seeing it through and actually like succeeding in that area is really high. And curiosity and purpose is one of them. Is if it's something that you're curious about that interests you and gives you fulfillment, the probability of you seeing that through and learning and becoming an expert in it drastically increases.
100%. I'm going to go back to what you said earlier about watching Netflix.
Yeah.
Because it's really,
because you're like, hey, I got to figure this out.
I'm like, I'm in. I'm doing this now.
I know you watch Netflix all the time.
All
Mr.
the time.
Mickler, yeah.
I did finish the last season available of Cobra Kai, by the way.
Finally.
Just so you know.
It's good, right? Super
fun. It was
fun.
pretty good. It was pretty good. Yeah. I want to be Johnny when I grow up. Or not Johnny. What's the other guy's name?
Yeah, you want to be Johnny.
No, I don't want to be Johnny.
What's the other guy's name? Johnny's my favorite guy.
No, wait.
Johnny's the Cobra Kai teacher.
Oh, yeah. Johnny. Yeah, I'm thinking Daniel. Yeah, no, I want to be Johnny.
No, you don't want to be Daniel. Daniel's
I want to be Johnny. Yeah. That's right. I actually always wanted to be Johnny. When I first saw Karate Kid, that guy was a badass. He was way cooler than Daniel's son from day one. All right, let's go back to Netflix here for a minute. Okay. This is important. I'm not just harping on it for the sake of harping. This is very important. If you're let's say you're a sci-fi guy and you just love sci-fi movies, there's a market for watching movies and then explaining all the intricacies and nuances and little things that people miss. And like, there's a market for that. That's crazy to me that there's people who have blogs and podcasts and YouTube channels, and all they do is talk about Star Wars
universe.
That's all they do.
It's not even their story. They're just explaining someone else's story,
or they're pontificating on alternate theories or little gaps. Like, whoa, what about this gap? Maybe what it could be, and they geek out on this shit.
Yeah,
that could be you. Crazy. What's Ned? Right, Ned. That could be you, man. Oh, that's stupid. That doesn't. Well, the geek next door is doing exactly what you say is stupid. It's there. Yeah. Just answer those three questions. What are you doing when time moves the fastest? What are people asking you advice for? And what would you do if money were not an issue? If you can find some commonalities between the three, you're in. It's going to take time. It's not going to be easy. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's a path for you.
All right. Artem Kulik, Ryan and Kip, you guys have been actively training Brazilian jiu-jitsu for some time now. How do you guys avoid getting cauliflower ear?
I think that, so you have a little bit, Kip. I don't actually have it. And that might just be time, but it also might be genetic. This is probably a better question for you because you've been in it longer than I have.
You don't avoid it. You train. Yeah. I know guys that get cauliflower ear, even if they try to wear wrestling headgear. So I think if guys are concerned, like sometimes if you have an ear blowing up, you might put headgear on so you don't like agitate it more. But other than that, no.
What about draining it? Do you drain your ear at all?
Without a doubt. Oh yeah. I'll drain them.
Important.
You got to drain your ears. Yeah. Otherwise you just have this giant circle thing on the side of your head.
You just have a syringe that you.
Yeah. Yeah. Diabetic needles are kind of the best ones.
And you got to do it early because cauliflower ear, if I understand correctly, is the skin separates from the cartilage and fluid fills that gap and you have to drain the fluid. Is that right?
Correct. And that fluid will turn rock hard.
Right.
So
if you don't drain it.
This part of my ear, I can push as hard as I want.
And it doesn't hurt?
Like
does it hurt?
Pushing a bone. No, not at all. So it's just really rock hard.
Like a bone? It's that dense?
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't give. It doesn't do anything. Like I'm
gonna play with your ears next time we get together, Kip.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. And and the other thing I've learned is it's not. I used to think, I get cauliflower because guys are attacking me, and it's them agitating my ears. No, it's me using my head.
Yes, on the mat.
So. Exactly. So most of the time it's me using the side of my head to to move their head, or I'm protecting. So it's me using my head against my opponent is what's generating most of my cauliflower ear. And I'm not going to stop doing that. It's highly effective. So I just, drain when you can and suck it up. I think it's just kind of a badge of honor, to be honest. So,
but I also think there's got to be it. Yeah, well, of course. Yeah. I mean, but there's got to be some sort of genetic thing to it too. Cause I mean, I take Pete Roberts, like he's been training for 20 plus years. He doesn't have cauliflower ear.
Yeah. I think, and I do know guys that train, and use their heads a lot and they don't get it. So I do think there's some genetics to it. I do think that jiu-jitsu style probably lends itself to a lot. It's different. Like how do I pass? Right. How do I pass the guard? How do I maintain control?
Right.
That's going to vary how much I'm using the side of my head than someone else that their game's slightly different. If they play off their back a lot, for instance, they may not use the side of their heads a lot. I love the passing game, and I'm constantly using my head to against legs and other people's heads and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, I've also heard Pete say, I mean, I just haven't been in the game long enough to probably deal with it too much. And maybe it's a bit of genetics, or maybe it's like my game, it's like you said.
Yeah, I think it's coming. I didn't get cauliflower ear until I was a blue and purple. That's when it started showing up a lot.
Yeah. I also think, so one of the things that Pete Roberts also, he's obviously my instructor friend too, but he's flat out come out and said, he's like, yeah, it's guys that don't protect their heads.
Yeah.
Which is actually what you're saying is like, you're not protecting it. You're using it, so.
Yeah. I'm using I realize cause it's not, I protect my neck quite a bit. And I actually don't think it's guys giving it to me. I'm giving myself cauliflower by using my head. So
I train with my buddy Brody Cousineau. I've talked about him on the podcast before, and so I train with him, and he actually has a propensity to get it. I think more so even than I do. And he was using headgear for a while, which is really difficult in jiu-jitsu to use headgear. And so he drains his ears. And I remember I think I kneed him in the ear one time at training, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta stop," and he could immediately feel it just swell up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes, and you can feel it coming on too. Like my ears will be super sensitive. And I know if I get banged or I'd rub it too much, it's gonna start filling up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can kind of feel it coming. In fact, I have a funny story. I was competing in, I flew to Japan actually to compete in a jiu-jitsu tournament in Tokyo. And and while we're training, my ear blew up pretty bad. And it was a couple days before the tournament. And we were in Bangkok the week before being in Tokyo. And I'm trying to figure out, like, I need to drain my ear.
Right.
Imagine a tourist running around Bangkok to pharmacists trying to ask for a syringe.
A syringe, a needle.
Oh yeah. I could, no one
Did
was
you
giving
find
me
one?
a
I think
syringe.
you told me the story.
I'm like,
did you find
I need
one?
a syringe, and they're like, get out of here. They're like all yelling at me.
Druggie.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
and eventually I had to like, no, please. And I was like showing, eventually someone's like, oh, okay. And then they got me
interesting.
Then they got me a dirty syringe from the alley to drain my ear in. Who knows?
So like you have hepatitis, but you don't have as big a cauliflower ear. Got it.
Totally. So
I think
gross.
it's, you've said this in the past too, Kip, and this isn't just a jiu-jitsu lesson, but this is a life lesson. It's the price.
Yeah.
It's the price, and so you have some jacked up ears. I'm saying you should protect. I'm not saying be flippant about it, but so protect your ears and stuff, protect your body, of course, just like you would your joints and elbows and everything else, protect yourself, but also there's a price, and are you willing to pay it? And if no, then okay, well, at least you're being truthful with yourself, but there is a cost to jiu-jitsu or anything else. My cost at this moment in time is that I've got lagging pain every day. My elbow hurts. That's the price for me. That's not to say I don't ice it. I don't take care of it. I don't try to have it recover and heal. Of course I do that.
Try to mitigate it a little bit. But
Yes.
And I think being realistic about the price, right? So you're not like, just be realistic that, hey, you know what? Is it still worth it for me? Am I willing to pay that price? And yeah, I am. So it's going to continue on. Yeah.
Shoulder mobility is another one of mine. Like my shoulders, just right at the point, where the shoulder connects to the, trap or whatever right there. Yeah. That's a lagging. So pull-ups have become increasingly more difficult. Is that a price I'm willing to pay? Yep, it is.
Yep,
it is.
It's crazy how that is. Here we are all. I'm the price to be broken. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm fine.
Yep. Oh, that hurts, but not bad enough. I'm going to keep going. But that's so life though, man. Like people think, and this goes back to I think it was, what's the guy's name before? Was it Ned?
Ned. About the electrician.
Yeah. Bro, there's a price, man. And the price is that you're going to have to work nights and weekends and sometimes mornings, and you're going to be struggling, and you're going to be trying to build this thing over here while you've got a full-time career over here. So either you're going to do it or you're not. And there's a price. So you're going to pay it or no. But don't lie to yourself. Don't say it's all. Here's what a lot of people think. If it's the right thing to do, or even worse, I think this is even worse, is to say, if it's God's will, then everything will be fine. No, man.
It'll work itself out.
Look, from a biblical perspective, Jesus Christ came down here and suffered more than you can ever imagine. And that was God's will. And he suffered more than any human being could ever imagine.
And he had to make that choice to do so.
That's what I'm saying. So if you think it's always going to be roses and fairy tales and sunshine, you're going to throw in the towel pretty quick when you get kicked in the proverbial nuts and think, oh, I guess it's not God's will. No, it just means you got kicked in the nuts and you need to get a little tougher or put a cup on next time so you can keep going.
Yeah. And to add to that, like even, if you think about repentance, that requires action.
Mm-hmm. And making it right, which is
like a contrite heart and a broken spirit. Like that requires you to do something. That just doesn't take care of itself.
Right. Exactly.
He requires
let's
action.
take one more, and then I think we should wrap this thing up for today.
All right. Kevin Fontenot, what is your opinion on starting a side business in a market that is flooded? And I think this is a good add-on to Ned's question earlier. I'm starting to give a license to carry classes out there, but a lot of these places give this class. My reason for doing this is because it's a passion of mine, and I also really enjoy teaching people how to protect their families. How would you market yourself to stand out among the others?
So you answered the question about dealing with a flooded market. Be better than everybody else, because there's always a number one. Yeah. There's always a number one, and the number one isn't concerned about the flooding of the market. So you have to do things different. You have to communicate different. You have to talk different. You have to add different value. You have to make it entertaining. I'll tell you one thing about the firearms community from the outsider. I already have
an idea. Yeah.
Well, maybe, but it's boring as shit.
Yeah.
And here's the problem firearms instructors have. If you're a firearms instructor, please listen to me. Okay. I don't know your industry as well as you do, but please listen to me when I say this. You aren't as good or special as you think you are. So I'll talk to a firearms instructor and they'll say, like, oh, I can't teach this stuff in 3 hours. It takes 3 days. Mother effer, you better find a way to do it in 3 hours, because nobody has 3 days. And your shit isn't as important or special as you think it is. Figure out a way. Don't just tell me that it takes 3 days. Oh, well, like, and you hear these guys with these inflated egos like, oh, well, I'm trying to shorten 40 hours of training into 40 minutes. Screw off, man. Learn how to do it. Teach us like the most important things in 40 minutes. Don't tell me how special you are. Nobody has 40 hours, but they do have 40 minutes. And if you complain about, well, I can't teach this, then that's your fault, not mine. I mean, we've had firearms instructors, Navy SEALs, world-class firearms instructors come to our course and they're like, I don't know if I can do it. I'm like, well, you're either going to find a way or we're going to find somebody else. And guess what they do? They find a way. And then here's what they do. They yap blah, 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 for hours. Stop talking. Let's go shoot.
Yeah. Get to the point.
I went to Sorenex's Winter Strong, and Pat McNamara was there. Everybody knows Pat McNamara, I'm sure. Yeah. And I was doing some other things, but I knew he was on the pistols range and he was kind of teaching some pistol marksmanship. And I was like, oh, I got to go train with Pat. Like, if I get an opportunity to train with Pat, I'm going to go do that. So I go down to the pistol range and we're shooting 22 pistols, just doing some marksmanship stuff. And I get up there and I'm like, okay, like, here's my stance. What do I do? Like, he's like, no, looks good. Just shoot. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, just shoot. He's like, yeah, but I'm just like, you're not going to kill me. Like, I mean, it's not awesome for him, but you're not going to kill me. So just shoot. So I shoot, and he's like, okay, that looked pretty good. Here's 2 things you can adjust. Shoot some more. And I adjusted those things, shot, and he's like, better. Back of the line.
Yep.
And then somebody else went, did the same thing. It wasn't like a 7-hour safety briefing.
Yeah.
It was like, you're not, and I remember vividly, he's like, yeah, like, we can tighten this up. You're not going to kill me. So why don't you just go ahead and shoot? That's the attitude. Like, I'm not going to kill anybody right now, which is good. I'm not trying to kill anybody.
So I don't need to give you all this other crap. Let's give you 1 to 2 primary points to work on. That's enough for you to work on. Yeah.
So what does somebody who wants to go shoot want to do? Kip, I'll ask you. Exactly. And yet firearms instructors spend half the time running their mouths about how wonderful they are, or all the cool experience, or when they were in special ops or whatever else, and how great they are. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Yeah. I just want to shoot that gun at that target and hear the metal go pling, 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 pling. That's all I want to hear. And I want to get better at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And many people are so full of themselves that they can't get over themselves enough to be able to put together a course where all you do is go shoot. Hey, look, here's the 4 firearm safety rules. Do it or you're out. If you mess up, you get 1 warning. If you do it again, you're out of here. Other than that, let's go shoot some firearms.
Yeah.
I guess the point I'm making here is that there is a huge window for you in this arena, because everybody else and you might too. Everybody else comes from a military background, comes from a special forces background, and guess who they learn from? The same dude who was doing 40 hours of safety briefings before they could even put their hands on a gun. And nobody wants that. Do it safely, do it effectively, get led down range, let people have some fun, let them experience, critique in real world scenarios, talk about this stuff on social media. That's a big deal. If you're not utilizing social media, make sure you are. there's a big opportunity here for you to do it right.
And look at the success criteria, right? Like, what is this person really looking for? If I take a concealed carry class, am I really taking the class for just concealed carry? No, I'm taking the class because I'm interested in what? Self-defense. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in having a weapon on me for a reason. There's another why behind this concealed carry. What's the other why? Right? All these guys teach hypotheticals. Some of them don't even let you touch a gun, right? Mm-hmm. Then how does this look like in my house? Right? Like, you know what, Kevin, here's your idea. You offer a class where you come into my house and you help me set up a strategy. If there is a break-in, where do we go? Where does my wife go? How do we protect ourselves? What's our exit strategy? That's the value. Like, to be honest with you, concealed carry class, that's worthless as shit. You come to my house and help me set up the proper plan to protect me and my family. Now we're talking.
I agree. I would offer one variant to that, because in a concealed course, sometimes there's requirements. That's the only.
Yeah.
Right?
Fair enough.
And so what I would say is operate within the requirements because there is so much classroom time that's needed, but maybe there's some things where you can do 2 to 3 hours of instruction and you can then go shoot, and then another couple hours of instruction and then go shoot. Or maybe there's an hour of instruction and then you bring a bunch of different pistols and components and you actually let them get their hands on the gun and you let them feel it and you critique them, so you get your required stuff in, but you also make it fun because people are looking to be entertained, guys.
Yeah.
Informed, sure. Yeah. But those people who think, well, my job is just to inform, you're delusional, man. Like, if somebody comes to a class and you spend 8 hours or 2 or 3 days yapping at them and never let them experience it, they're never coming back.
Yeah. And people don't learn that way.
No, it's not fun. It's not enjoyable.
It is science. People don't learn that way. You don't
trust
learn
the science.
Being taught to. Yeah.
Anyways, I think you get it. Don't be like the rest of them. Is my solution.
And we call it a minimal or unique. What do they call it?
Selling proposition.
Unique
USP.
Selling proposition. Yep. What makes you unique? Figure that out.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, we got through like 4 questions today, so that was good.
Hey, it was
maybe
good
5.
Stuff.
It was. I feel like I got on my soapbox a little bit, but some of this stuff is important, guys, and I'm passionate about it. Like that goes back to, I think it was Ned's question about finding things that you're interested in. I'm passionate about this, and so this is actually what I would do if money was not an issue. This is what I would do. These are the conversations I would have. These are the people I would talk with. These are the questions I would answer and ask. So that's why I'm excited about it. Anyways, let's wrap it up, Kip.
To follow that passion and excitement, you can follow Mr. Michler on Instagram at Ryan Michler. That's Michler. And as always, our call to action is join us in the Iron Council. That's our exclusive brotherhood. To learn more about the Iron Council, go to orderofman.com/Iron Council. And really what that looks like, I love this analogy. I think so much of our lives, we're the spectator. We're at the basketball game and we're sitting in the stands watching life. Iron Council is you getting out of the stands and actually playing the game.
Yes, sir.
So join us on the court.
Cool. Yeah, guys, make sure you do that. Orderofman.com/Iron Council. This month, we're talking all about preparedness and being prepared for disasters, emergency situations, violent encounters. Obviously, the last 12 months have been very interesting, to say the least. So there's been some real threats to individuals and their safety. And we're talking about that, how to deal with that, whether it's rioting and looting or the power being out in Texas or a pandemic and having to live off of food storage. Like
or losing your job.
It all. Losing your job. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about that in the Iron Council again, orderofman.com/Iron Council. All right, guys, we'll be back on Friday. Got a wonderful, wonderful lineup of men who are going to be joining us over the next several weeks. So make sure you subscribe, leave that rating and review. But until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.